The briefing room filled with nervous chatter as young recruits took their seats. Most had just graduated from the Galactic Patrol Academy, and this was their first real assignment. They would be stationed at Border Post 77, monitoring the restricted zone around a small yellow star in a quiet arm of the galaxy. Ambassador Reth walked to the front of the room carrying a data tablet. His silver skin reflected the dim lights as he surveyed the crowd. These recruits looked so confident, so eager. They had no idea what they were about to guard against. "Silence," Reth said, his voice cutting through the chatter. The room went quiet immediately. "You have all been assigned to quarantine duty. Some of you think this is a boring post. You believe you will spend your careers watching empty space. You are wrong." He activated the display screen behind him. An image appeared showing a blue and green planet dotted with white clouds. It looked peaceful, almost inviting. "This is Sol 3. The locals call it Earth. For the past 103 years, the Galactic Council has maintained a complete blockade around this world. No ships enter. No ships leave. Most importantly, the beings on that planet have no idea we exist." A recruit raised her hand. She was Drellian with 4 eyes that blinked in sequence. "Ambassador, why quarantine them? Did they attack us?" "No," Reth replied. "They have never attacked anyone beyond their own planet. That is precisely what makes them so dangerous." Confused murmurs spread through the room. Reth pulled up another image. This one showed a bipedal creature with tan skin, dark hair, and 2 forward-facing eyes. The creature was smiling, showing flat teeth with slightly pointed canines. "This is a human. They are the dominant species on Earth. When our survey teams first discovered them, they were just beginning to explore their own solar system. Primitive rockets, basic satellites, nothing that concerned us. But our anthropologists insisted on a full study before first contact. What they found terrified the Council." Reth began packing as he spoke. "Humans evolved as persistence hunters. Do you know what that means? It means they do not give up, ever. On their world, humans would chase prey for days, not hours, days. The animal would run until its heart exploded from exhaustion. The human would still be jogging along behind it, barely breathing hard." He pulled up a chart showing human physical capabilities compared to other species. They can regulate their body temperature through sweating, allowing them to function in extreme heat. Their joints are designed for shock absorption, letting them fall from heights that would shatter most species. They have a pain tolerance that borders on the absurd. Medical records show humans continuing to fight with broken bones, torn muscles, even after losing significant amounts of blood. Another recruit spoke up, a Killian male with translator implants in his neck. "With respect, Ambassador, many species are physically tough. Why does this warrant quarantine?" "Because physical toughness is the least concerning trait," Reth answered. He changed the display to show various Earth animals. There was a large predator with fangs and claws, a scaled reptile with hundreds of teeth, a massive creature with thick skin and a horn. "These are some of Earth's most dangerous predators. Humans keep them as companions. They call them pets. This one," he pointed to a furry creature with sharp teeth, "lives in their homes. They feed it, care for it, consider it family. This behavior extends beyond their own planet. Our psychological profiles indicate that humans will pack bond with virtually anything." He pulled up an incident report. 17 years ago, a human probe entered the edge of the quarantine zone before we pushed it back. It carried a golden disc with images and sounds from Earth. Do you know what was on it? Music, art, mathematical formulas, greetings in 55 different human languages. They sent a message to beings they had never met, hopping to make friends. "That sounds harmless," someone muttered. "Does it?" Reth challenged. "Imagine a species so desperate for connection that they shout into the void, hopping someone answers. A species that bonds with predators, that adopts injured animals, that cries over fictional stories. Now imagine that same species with weapons." The room went very quiet. Reth pulled up images of human warfare, explosions, soldiers, destroyed cities. Humans have been fighting each other for their entire recorded history, over resources, over beliefs, over imaginary lines on maps. They have created weapons capable of destroying their entire planet several times over. And yet, he paused, letting the tension build. And yet, they also have laws against those weapons, treaties, organizations dedicated to peace. They will fight brutal wars, then send aid to rebuild their enemies' cities. They will argue passionately about rights for beings that do not even exist yet. They create elaborate moral frameworks about hypothetical scenarios just to explore ethics. A new image appeared showing a human child holding a small animal. The council's chief psychologist spent 3 years studying human behavior. Her conclusion was simple. Humans are the most dangerous species we have ever encountered, not because of what they will do to enemies, but because of what they will do for friends. Before anyone could ask what that meant, alarms blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Reth grabbed his communicator as the station commander's voice crackled through. All personnel to emergency stations. We have a civilian transport requesting immediate assistance. Engine failure, life support critical, 300 souls on board. Location, Reth demanded. That is the problem, Ambassador. They are drifting toward the quarantine boundary. Nearest council rescue vessels are 4 days out. Reth felt his heart sink. What else is nearby? There was a long pause. Sensors show one ship, small exploration class. It is on the human side of the border, about 6 hours from the transport. The recruits stared at Reth, finally understanding. 300 beings would die, or the council would have to ask the dangerous humans for help. After a century of hiding from Earth, first contact would happen because they had no other choice. Reth made his decision. David Ross was reviewing star charts when the communication panel lit up with an incoming transmission. He floated over in the zero-gravity environment, nodding the unusual frequency. It was not from Earth control. "Amy, you seeing this?" He called to the engineering station. Amy Liu pushed off from the wall where she had been checking power readings. Her dark hair formed a halo around her head in the weightlessness. "That is not one of ours. The encryption is completely different." Ben Akaffer emerged from the medical bay, his tall frame ducking through the doorway. "Please tell me that is not an equipment malfunction. Please tell me that is what I think it is." David opened the channel. Static crackled for a moment, then a synthesized voice spoke in clear English. "Unidentified Earth vessel. This is Galactic Council Border Station 77. We are transmitting on emergency frequencies regarding a humanitarian crisis." The 3 humans stared at each other. First contact. After decades of wondering if anyone else was out there, someone was finally talking to them. "This is Captain David Ross of the exploration ship Pathfinder. We receive you clearly. What is the nature of your emergency?" The voice continued without acknowledging his response. It was clearly a recorded message. "A civilian transport carrying 300 beings has suffered catastrophic engine failure. Life support is failing. They will drift across the boundary designated on your star charts as restricted space. We calculate you are the nearest vessel capable of rendering assistance. Coordinates follow." Numbers scrolled across the screen. Amy was already running calculations. "Those coordinates are about 5.5 hours away at maximum burn. But David, we have been trying to reach past that boundary for 2 years. Every time we send a probe, something pushes it back." "They called us," Ben said quietly. "They have been hiding from us, and now they are asking for help." David studied the data. The message was sophisticated, clearly from a civilization far more advanced than Earth. It could be a trap. It probably was a trap. But if it was real, 300 people were dying. "Amy, can you verify that distress signal is genuine?" Amy pulled up the technical data embedded in the transmission. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls. The signal shows genuine power fluctuations consistent with a failing reactor. The life support readings are degrading in a pattern that matches oxygen scrubber failure. I cannot fake this kind of data. It is too complex, too many variables. Could be an elaborate setup, David said, but his voice lacked conviction. Or it could be exactly what they say it is, Ben countered. 300 people dying because we are too paranoid to help. David made his decision. Amy, plot a course to those coordinates. Ben, prep the medical bay for potential casualties. I will send our response. He opened the channel again. Border Station 77, this is Pathfinder. We are responding to your emergency. Estimate arrival in 5 hours and 20 minutes. Please transmit any relevant technical data about the damaged vessel. There was a long silence. Then a different voice came through, not synthesized but real. It sounded uncertain. You are confirming you will assist. That is correct, David replied. We are already underway. Another pause. Pathfinder, you should know that the transport crew has been informed of your approach. They are frightened. They may not cooperate. Frightened of us, why? The voice did not answer directly. Just be prepared for resistance. Border station out. The channel closed. Amy engaged the engines and Pathfinder accelerated toward the coordinates. The 3 crew members felt the gentle push of acceleration as the artificial gravity systems compensated. Frightened of humans, Ben said, shaking his head. We have been alone in the universe dreaming about meeting aliens, and apparently they have been dreaming about avoiding us. Maybe they watched our television broadcasts, Amy suggested. If their first exposure to humanity was our entertainment, I would be scared too. David strapped into his seat as the ship continued to accelerate. Whatever the reason, we are about to meet our neighbors, and their first real experience with humans will be us trying to save their lives. Let us make it count. The hours passed slowly. Amy monitored the engines as they pushed beyond normal operational parameters. Ben prepared medical supplies, trying to guess what alien biology might need. David maintained an open channel with Border Station, updating them on Pathfinder's progress. Finally, sensors picked up the damaged transport. It was huge compared to Pathfinder, designed to carry hundreds of passengers. But it was tumbling slowly, venting atmosphere from several hull breaches. No lights showed in the windows. Life signs, David asked. Amy checked her readings. I am picking up multiple biosignatures, but the variety is incredible. I count at least 7 different types. Some are getting very weak. David opened a channel to the transport. Damaged vessel, this is Earth ship Pathfinder. We are here to help. Please respond. Static, then a voice, clearly terrified. Stay away from us. We do not want human help. Your life support is failing, David said calmly. You have maybe 6 hours of breathable air left, and that is being optimistic. We can tow you to safety or transfer your passengers, but we cannot do either if you will not let us approach. You will kill us all, the voice insisted. Humans are dangerous. Everyone knows this. Ben leaned toward the microphone. I am Dr. Ben Akafer. I have medical training. Are there injured on your ship? Anyone in immediate danger? A different voice responded, female, desperate. My daughter cannot breathe. The air is too thin for her. She keeps passing out. Ben did not hesitate. Tell me where you are on the ship. I am coming over with oxygen equipment right now. Ben, wait, David started to say, but the doctor was already moving toward the airlock. They can shoot me if they want, Ben said, but I am not letting a child die because adults are scared. David watched his friend seal the helmet on his pressure suit. Sometimes the right choice was also the dangerous one. He just hoped the aliens would see Ben for what he was, a doctor trying to save a life. Nothing more, nothing less. The airlock door slid open and Ben stepped into the damaged transport. Emergency lighting cast everything in a red glow. The corridor walls were covered in strange symbols, and the doors were the wrong shape, but fear smelled the same in any language. A crowd of aliens pressed against the far wall, as far from Ben as they could get. They came in different sizes and shapes. Some had fur, others had scales, and one looked like it was made of living crystal. All of them looked terrified. "I am not here to hurt anyone," Ben said slowly, keeping his hands visible. "I am a doctor. Someone said a child needs help." A creature near the back moved forward. She had 4 arms and silver skin that reminded Ben of moonlight. She was holding a small version of herself, a child whose breathing came in harsh gasps. The mother's whole body was shaking. "Please," she whispered, "please help her." Ben approached carefully, moving like he would around a frightened animal. Several aliens raised makeshift weapons, pieces of metal torn from the walls. He ignored them and knelt beside the mother and child. The little girl's lips were blue, not human blue, but a darker shade of her natural silver. Her eyes were closed and her small chest barely moved. Ben pulled out a portable scanner from his medical kit and ran it over her. "Her oxygen saturation is at 30%, he said, mostly to himself. "She needs supplemental oxygen immediately." He reached for the breathing mask in his kit. The mother suddenly lunged at him, all 4 arms swinging. Her fists connected with his helmet and shoulders. Ben absorbed the blows without fighting back. He kept his focus on the child, attaching the mask to her small face and adjusting the oxygen flow. "I know you are scared," Ben said gently as the mother continued hitting him. "I know you do not trust me, but your daughter needs this oxygen or she will die in the next few minutes." The mother's strikes grew weaker. She was crying now, a keening sound that needed no translation. Ben checked the child's vital signs on his scanner. The oxygen was helping. Her lips began to return to their normal color. "See," Ben said softly, "she is already breathing easier." The mother stopped hitting him. She stared at the mask on her daughter's face, then at Ben, then back at her daughter. The little girl's eyes fluttered open. She looked confused but was breathing normally now. "You saved her," the mother whispered. "Why would you save her?" Ben looked genuinely confused by the question. "Because she needed help. Why else?" Before anyone could respond, the ship lurched violently. The artificial gravity fluctuated and everyone grabbed for handholds. Sparks erupted from a control panel down the corridor. Amy's voice came through Ben's communicator. "We have a serious problem. The transport's reactor is destabilizing faster than projected. If it goes critical, both ships will be destroyed." David's voice followed immediately. "Can you repair it?" "Not without help from their engineer. The systems are completely different from ours." The transport's captain, a being with 6 legs and compound eyes, stepped forward. He had been one of the ones holding a weapon. He lowered it now. "Our engineer is dead," he said. "Killed when the reactor first failed. I have basic training but nothing like what we need for this." "Then we work together," Amy said through the comm. "Captain, I am transmitting schematics of a temporary fix. It requires parts from both ships. If your people help me, we can stabilize the reactor long enough to get everyone to safety." The captain looked at his passengers. They were still afraid, but now they looked uncertain rather than hostile. Ben was still kneeling beside the child, adjusting her oxygen flow. The little girl was holding his hand. "Tell me what you need," the captain said finally. Over the next 3 hours, an uneasy cooperation developed. Amy transferred to the transport with tools and components. She found herself working next to a 3-armed alien who handed her equipment before she could ask for it. They could not speak each other's languages, but engineering was a universal translator. David coordinated from Pathfinder, using the smaller ship's tractor beam to stabilize the transport's tumbling. It was delicate work. Too much force and he would damage the weakened hull. Too little and the ship would tear itself apart. Ben moved through the transport treating injuries. A broken limb here, a concussion there. Each time he approached someone new, they flinched. Each time he helped them, they relaxed a little more. By his fifth patient, they were coming to him instead of hiding. Amy and the alien engineer managed to bypass the damaged reactor components and reroute power through secondary systems. It was not pretty and it would not last long, but it would hold. "We need to move now," Amy said. "This fix will give us maybe 12 hours before the whole thing falls apart again." "Can Pathfinder tow them?" the captain asked. David ran the calculations. "Barely. We will have to push our engines past their safety limits. We might burn them out completely." "There is a council station 4 hours from here," the captain said. "If we can make it that far, they can handle the rest." "Then that is where we go," David decided. "Everyone strap in. This is going to be rough." The next 4 hours tested Pathfinder's systems to their breaking point. The engines screamed with the strain of towing a ship 10 times their mass. Coolant systems ran hot. Power fluctuated. Amy had to shut down non-essential systems just to keep the engines from exploding. But they made it. The council station appeared on sensors, a massive structure orbiting a gas giant. Relief flooded through both crews. As they approached the docking port, the captain of the transport opened a channel to Pathfinder. "I need to know something. Why did you do this? You risked your ship, your lives, for strangers, for people who feared you." David thought about the question. He thought about Ben kneeling in that corridor, getting hit while saving a child. He thought about Amy working shoulder to shoulder with an engineer she could not talk to. He thought about the human drive to help, to fix, to save. "Because you asked," he said simply, "and because it was right." The council chamber was ancient, built from materials that predated most civilizations in the galaxy. Representatives from 200 species filled the curved rows of seats, their translation devices creating a low hum of converted speech. At the center stood Ambassador Reth, and beside him was the captain of the transport, whose name was Myra. "This is unprecedented," declared a representative from the Hallen Collective, his 3 mouths speaking in harmony. "We established the quarantine protocols for excellent reasons. Breaking them sets a dangerous precedent." 300 lives were saved, countered a Brel delegate, her wings rustling with agitation. "Are we truly debating whether that was worth bending our rules?" Reth watched the argument unfold with a heavy heart. He had spent the past day reviewing every second of footage from the rescue. He had interviewed Myra and her passengers. He had analyzed the humans' behavior from every possible angle, and what he found disturbed him more than he wanted to admit. "If I may speak," Myra said, her 4 arms gesturing for attention. "I was there. I saw what happened. The humans did not hesitate. They did not demand payment. They did not negotiate terms. They simply came." "That proves nothing," Reth said, though his voice lacked its usual conviction. "Humans are capable of deception. This could have been a calculated move to gain our trust." "With respect, Ambassador, that makes no sense." Myra pulled up a holographic display. "Look at this footage. This is their doctor, Ben Akafer. I hit him, repeatedly, while he was trying to save my daughter. He did not fight back. He did not even stop working. He just kept helping her." The council watched the video in silence. They saw Ben take the blows, saw him calmly attach the breathing mask, saw the child's recovery. It was difficult to argue with such clear evidence. Another representative spoke, a Quillan elder with gray scales. "Perhaps this individual is exceptional. One kind human does not represent the entire species." "Then watch this," Myra said, pulling up more footage. It showed Amy working alongside the transport's engineer, both of them covered in coolant and grease. Their engineer could have stayed on their safe ship. Instead, she risked her life in our failing reactor room. Look at her face. She is smiling. She is enjoying working with someone completely different from her. And their captain, Myra continued, showing footage of David at Pathfinder's controls. He pushed his ship so hard that it may never fly again, for strangers, for people his own government does not even know exist. Reth felt the argument slipping away from him. The Council's psychologists warned us about human empathy. They said it makes humans unpredictable and therefore dangerous. Dangerous to who? Asked a small delegate from the Prince system. These humans seem dangerous only to problems. That comment drew reactions across the chamber. Some delegates laughed, others murmured agreement. Reth felt control of the debate escaping completely. I request permission to share testimony from my passengers, Myra said. The council voted to allow it. One by one, aliens who had been on the transport stood before the council. The mother whose daughter Ben saved, the engineer who worked with Amy, a security officer who watched the rescue unfold. Each told their story. The most powerful testimony came from an elderly Vren, his tentacles trembling with age. I have lived for 300 years. I have seen wars, famines, and disasters. I have witnessed acts of great heroism and terrible cruelty. But I have never seen anything like what these humans did. They had every reason to ignore us. We treated them like monsters, and they saved us anyway. When the testimonies ended, the council sat in heavy silence. Finally, the High Arbiter spoke. She was a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline form, one of the oldest members of the council. It seems we face a choice, she said, her voice like wind chimes. We can maintain our quarantine and pretend this incident never happened, or we can acknowledge that our initial assessment of humanity may have been incomplete. Incomplete, Reth said. High Arbiter, our assessment was based on decades of observation. Observation from a distance, she corrected. We studied their wars and their violence. We cataloged their weapons and their conflicts, but we never spoke to them. We never gave them a chance to show us who they are when facing others instead of themselves. The Hallan representative spoke again. What do you propose? A formal first contact, the High Arbiter said. A delegation will visit Earth. They will observe human society directly. They will speak with human leaders and ordinary citizens. After 1 month, they will return and provide a comprehensive report. Based on that report, we will vote on whether to lift the quarantine. Arguments erupted immediately. Some delegates thought it was too risky. Others felt it was overdue. The debate raged for hours. Finally, a vote was called. The chamber fell silent as each representative cast their decision. The results appeared on the main display. 103 in favor, 97 opposed. The measure passes, the High Arbiter announced. Ambassador Reth, given your extensive knowledge of humanity and your obvious concerns, you will lead the delegation. Reth felt his heart sink. High Arbiter, I must protest. My bias against humans is well known. Exactly, she said. If anyone can find evidence that humans remain dangerous, it will be you. And if you cannot find such evidence, then perhaps there is none to find. Reth wanted to argue further but recognized the wisdom in her logic. If he found nothing wrong with humanity, the council would have to accept it. I understand, he said. When do we depart? Immediately. The humans are currently being housed on Border Station 77 while their ship undergoes repairs. You will meet with them, explain our intentions, and accompany them back to Earth. As the council session ended, Reth stood alone in the chamber. He thought about the videos he had watched, about Ben taking those blows while saving a child, about Amy laughing while covered in alien coolant, about David risking everything for people he had just met. He thought about the elderly Vren's words, about 300 years of experience being overturned by one act of kindness. And he wondered if perhaps the most dangerous thing about humans was not their capacity for violence, but their ability to make you question everything you thought you knew about danger itself. The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere with Reth gripping his seat. He had visited dozens of worlds in his career, but somehow this felt different, more significant, more dangerous. First time entering a gravity well this strong, David asked from the pilot's seat. The humans had insisted on flying the delegation down themselves after Pathfinder's repairs were completed. I have been to many worlds, Reth replied stiffly. But never one where the inhabitants might eat you, Amy said with a grin. She was joking, Reth realized. Humans used humor to ease tension. He had read about this, but experiencing it was different. The shuttle broke through the clouds and Earth spread out below them. Reth stared in wonder despite himself. Blue oceans covered most of the surface. Green and brown continents sat like islands in that vast water. White clouds swirled in patterns that reminded him of art. "It is beautiful," he said without thinking. "Wait until you see it from the ground," Ben said. "Pictures do not do it justice." They landed in New York City, and Reth's first impression was chaos. Millions of humans moved through streets and buildings like water flowing through channels. Vehicles sped past. Lights blinked. Sounds crashed together into a wall of noise that made his translator work overtime. "How do you function in this?" asked Prill, another member of the delegation. She was a small creature with sensitive hearing, and the noise clearly bothered her. "You get used to it," David said. "Actually, you learn to love it. All this chaos is just people living their lives, working, playing, being together." Reth watched a human stumble on the sidewalk. Before he could fall, 3 other humans reached out to steady him. They did not know each other, Reth realized. They were strangers who simply did not want to see someone get hurt. Such a small act, but it fit everything he had feared about humans. They cared. Even when it cost them nothing, even when it gained them nothing, they cared. Over the next days, the delegation toured Earth cities. They visited hospitals where Reth watched doctors work 16-hour shifts saving lives. They toured schools where teachers spent their own money on supplies for students. They attended a community meeting where neighbors organized to help a family whose house had burned down. "This is a performance," Reth insisted after the 3rd day. "You are showing us only the good parts." "Fine," David said. "Tomorrow we visit a prison." The prison was harsh and gray. The humans locked inside had committed terrible crimes: murder, assault, theft. Reth interviewed several prisoners, trying to find evidence of the violence he knew lurked in humanity. One prisoner, a man named Robert, had killed 2 people during a robbery. "Do you regret your actions?" Reth asked. "Every single day," Robert said quietly. "I destroyed 3 families that night, the people I killed and my own. I think about it constantly." "Yet you still did it." "Yeah, I made a choice, a terrible, stupid choice, and I will pay for it for the rest of my life." Robert looked directly at Reth. "You are trying to figure out if humans are dangerous, right? We are. We can be cruel and violent and selfish, but we can also be better. Most of us try to be better." That afternoon, Reth met with a victim's family. The daughter of one of Robert's victims agreed to speak with him. Her name was Nicole, and she had been 12 when her father died. "Do you want revenge?" Reth asked. Nicole thought about the question. "I used to. For years I imagined terrible things happening to Robert, but then I realized something. Hatting him was not bringing my dad back. It was just making me miserable, so I chose to let it go, not for Robert, for me." "How is that possible?" Reth asked. "Your father was killed, how can you just forgive?" "I did not say I forgave him," Nicole corrected. "I said I let go of the hate. There is a difference. Forgiveness might come later, or it might not. But I refuse to let what Robert did turn me into someone my father would not recognize." Reth left that meeting deeply troubled. These humans contained such contradictions: violence and mercy, cruelty and kindness. How could one species hold both? The delegation's final test came unexpectedly. An earthquake struck the region they were touring, a massive tremor that knocked buildings down and trapped people in rubble. Reth expected panic, perhaps riots as humans fought over scarce resources. Instead, he watched humans organize instantly. Construction workers rushed to collapsed buildings and began pulling people out. Doctors set up triage stations in parking lots. Ordinary citizens formed human chains to pass supplies. People opened their homes to strangers who had lost everything. Reth found himself helping, translating between human rescue workers and alien delegation members who wanted to assist. He watched a young human, barely an adult, crawl into a dangerous gap in the rubble to reach a trapped child. The structure could have collapsed at any moment. The young man did not hesitate. "Why?" Reth asked when the child was safely out. "Why risk your life for a stranger?" The young man looked confused by the question. "Because she needed help. What else was I supposed to do?" That phrase again. What else was I supposed to do? As if helping was the only logical option. As if risking yourself for others was just basic mathematics. That night, Reth sat in his temporary quarters reviewing his notes. He had seen human violence in their prison. He had seen their weapons in their museums. He had read their histories of war and genocide, all the evidence he needed to recommend keeping the quarantine. But he had also seen Ben taking blows to save a child, Amy laughing while working with an alien engineer, David pushing his ship past its limits, Robert showing genuine remorse, Nicole choosing not to hate, a young man crawling into danger because someone needed help. The door chimed. David entered when Reth gave permission. "We return to the council tomorrow," David said. "I imagine you have a lot to report." Reth looked at the human. "You know what I am going to say, do you not?" David smiled. "I hope you will tell them the truth, whatever that is." "The truth," Reth repeated. "The truth is complicated." "The truth usually is," David agreed. "But that is what makes it true." The council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from species across the galaxy had gathered to hear Reth's report. Some had traveled for weeks to be present. The future of human-alien relations depended on what he said in the next hour. Reth stood at the center, his data compiled and ready. He looked up at the hundreds of faces, scales, and surfaces watching him. He thought about the month he had spent on Earth. He thought about everything he had seen. "Honored Council," he began, "I have completed my assessment of humanity. My findings are extensive, but I will summarize the key points." The chamber fell silent. Even the usual background hum of translators seemed quieter. "Humans are dangerous," Reth said flatly. "This fact is undeniable. They evolved as apex predators on a world that tested them constantly. They possess physical capabilities that allow them to push their bodies beyond what most species would consider possible. Their history is filled with warfare, conquest, and violence." He could feel the satisfaction from the anti-human faction. They thought they had won. "However," Reth continued, "danger alone does not tell the complete story. Humans are dangerous the way a controlled fire is dangerous. Yes, fire can destroy, but it also provides warmth, cooks food, and lights the darkness. The question is not whether humans are dangerous. The question is what they are dangerous to." He pulled up footage from the earthquake rescue. "I watched humans risk their lives to save strangers, not occasionally, constantly, as if this was normal behavior. When I asked why, they seemed confused by the question. To them, helping is not a choice to be debated. It is simply what you do." More footage appeared, showing Ben in the transport corridor. "This is Dr. Ben Ockhaffer being struck repeatedly by a frightened mother while he saved her daughter's life. He did not fight back. He did not stop helping. He absorbed the violence and responded with healing." The council watched in silence. "I interviewed a human who committed murder," Reth said. "He expressed genuine remorse, not because he was caught but because he understood the pain he caused. I also interviewed the victim's daughter. She had every reason to demand revenge. Instead, she chose to let go of her hatred, not for the killer's benefit but for her own peace." He showed clips from hospitals, schools, and community centers. Humans create systems to help each other. They dedicate their lives to teaching children who are not theirs. They work exhausting hours saving the lives of complete strangers. They build organizations whose only purpose is to reduce suffering. Ambassador, interrupted the Hallan representative, you are describing altruistic behavior. Many species demonstrate this toward their own kind. It does not make humans safe. You are correct, Reth agreed. But human altruism does not stop at their own kind. Let me show you something I discovered in their libraries. He pulled up images of Earth animals. These are creatures humans have driven to near extinction through their industrial activities. They are now spending billions of their currency units to save these same species. They have created massive protected areas. They have passed laws restricting their own behavior. They are sacrificing economic gain to preserve creatures that provide them no direct benefit. More images appeared. Humans write stories about aliens before they even know aliens exist. They imagine first contact scenarios. And do you know what the most common theme is in these stories? Not conquest, not violence, but understanding, communication, friendship. Reth looked directly at the Hallan representative. Humans sent a probe into space carrying information about themselves. Music, art, mathematics, greetings in dozens of languages. They did this knowing they might never receive a response. They did it out of hope, out of a desire to connect. He paused, letting that sink in. The Council feared humans because we saw their capacity for violence. We were right to be cautious, but we made a critical error. We assumed that violence was their defining trait. It is not. Their defining trait is adaptability, and they have chosen to adapt toward cooperation. You cannot know that for certain, another delegate argued. They could change. Any species could change, Reth countered. But I spent a month studying human psychology, human culture, human behavior. I interviewed hundreds of them. I watched them in crisis and in calm. And I found a consistent pattern. When humans are faced with a problem, their first instinct is to fix it. When they encounter suffering, their first instinct is to help. When they meet someone different, their first instinct is to try to understand. He showed one final piece of footage. It was from the earthquake rescue, showing a human child sharing her food with Prill, the delegation member with sensitive hearing. The child had no idea what Prill was or where she came from. She just saw someone who looked scared and hungry, and she shared what she had. This child is 6 years old, Reth said quietly. No one taught her to do this. No one ordered her to help. She simply saw a need and responded. This is not an exception. This is who humans are. The council debated for hours after his presentation. Arguments flew back and forth. Statistics were cited. Concerns were raised. But slowly, gradually, the tide shifted. When the vote finally came, it was not close. 157 in favor of lifting the quarantine, 43 opposed. The High Arbiter made the announcement. The quarantine on Earth is hereby lifted. Humanity is invited to join the Galactic Council as a probationary member. They will have 5 years to demonstrate they can function peacefully within the larger galactic community. Reth found David in the observation deck afterward. The human was staring at Earth through the viewport, his home planet small and distant. We got the message, David said. Earth is celebrating. They want to send ambassadors immediately. Start trade agreements. Begin cultural exchanges. Everyone is excited. Are you not excited? Reth asked, nodding the human's quiet demeanor. I am terrified, David admitted. We are about to meet hundreds of species. Some will become friends. Some might become enemies. We will make mistakes. We will accidentally offend people. We will have conflicts. He turned to face Reth. But we will also learn. We will adapt. We will try to be good neighbors. Reth felt something he had not expected. Hope. You know what makes humans truly dangerous, David? What? You make people want to believe in you, even when they know better, Even when all evidence suggests caution, you make us hope. Reth allowed himself a small smile. Perhaps that is the most dangerous thing of all. David laughed. Maybe, but it is also the best thing about us. As they stood together watching Earth, Reth realized the galaxy was about to change in ways no one could predict. Humans would bring their persistence, their creativity, their violence, and their compassion. They would be difficult and inspiring in equal measure. And the galaxy would be better for it.